What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben and welcome back to another episode on the PV-1 Ventura. This is episode number 12, and today we are going to be focusing mainly on detail painting for the octopus tentacles. It's going to be a lot of work there. We have to put in all those details. We also need to work a little bit on the parts and pieces such as the wheels. We have to airbrush the center hubs aluminum. We're going to need some masks for that. We also have to go ahead and paint the center of the propellers aluminum. That's going to be pretty easy. And on top of everything else, we have to give it a nice coat of future. So lots to do. Let's get going. Now we're going to start off. We need to actually tone down some of the previous post shading that we did on the panel lines. They're just too stark for me. So I'm going to go ahead and mix up a little bit of our custom color. We're going to use some Tamiya sea blue. We're going to mix it up with Tamiya medium blue. And then we're going to really thin it down to where basically it's like a wash. So then we're going to take our airbrush, we're going to put it about maybe 10 to 15 psi, and we're just going to lightly overcoat all of these panel lines and the entire wings in this lightened color. That's going to help to kind of blend everything together, and I'm hoping that's going to give us the desired effect that we're looking for. After that, we're going to do the exact same thing with the sides of the fuselage. We're going to take our custom color on that, really thin it out, and then we're going to blend everything together just to go ahead and cut down on those super stark panel lines that I did last time. A little bit too dark, you know. So let's go ahead and get that airbrush out and get this party started. All right, everybody, everything is nicely blended together. It really turned out well. I was worried I would do too much or too little and it would just be a mess, but no, I actually pulled it off. I like how it looks. I've also turned my attention over here to the propellers. Now I cut them off the sprue, and so of course we have a little bit of the attachment points left. We have to go ahead and file those down. I'm going to use my hobby knife and just go ahead and slice off a couple of the imperfections there. And then we'll be more or less ready to go ahead and airbrush the center section. I need to do the other propeller as well, so I'll do that off camera because, well, you kind of get the gist of it. There shouldn't be anything really crazy with that. So let's go ahead and get the other one done and move on. Now for the wheels, we have to go ahead and airbrush the center hub the same color as the center hub on the propeller. I'm going to be using Vallejo aluminum for that. So I'm going to need to make some masks. Now normally I would try to use a circle hole cutter on this, but I can't. These are actually too small for the cutter I have. So instead we're going to revert back to using a pin vise, a template, and then gently scoring down through the tape to create that center mask. Once that center mask is all ready to go, we'll be able to cut that out and stick it right down to the wheel, and we can move on from there. Now we're going to go ahead and take these masks and we're just going to go ahead and stick them down to the wheel. I'm going to just make sure that I have these lined up as best as I can get them. And then we'll burnish down the edges so I can minimize any sort of seepage of paint underneath that mask. Even if I did get a little bit of seepage, it's okay. I can just come back with some flat black and just go ahead and paint over that. So it's not that big of a deal. I just don't want extra work for myself. So I'm going to try to do it right the first time. Now let's get the other mask up off the cutting mat and we'll paste that to the back of the wheel. And then we just need to cut 2 more masks, get those other wheels done, and we can go ahead and load up our Vallejo aluminum in our airbrush. Go ahead and paint the center hubs of the wheels and also of the propellers. So we are moving along, everybody. We are getting there step by step. All right, let's go ahead and get that paint out and let's go ahead and get it done. All right, everybody, moving on. This is going to be the hardest thing I've ever had to do here on the Ventura. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about it. Now, we need to add in these suction cups that show up underneath each of the tentacles. That's very difficult, and I've actually tried a couple different ways to do it. I tried hand brushing it. That did not work. I tried making my own masks with just some punches. Also, did not work. So we've actually settled on making a reverse mask. We're using some frisket paper. And we've done one of those so far, and I gotta tell you, it works. It's just really tedious to do. So we're gonna have to do that for each and every single tentacle. A lot of work here, guys. So the way I went ahead and did that is I've actually taken a little bit of frisket film, and I've taken a Sharpie. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to draw in where the tentacle is. So I'm just gonna draw each of these lines here. And this doesn't have to be perfect. It can be rough and loose. It doesn't have to worry about perfection here because these in the field would have been hand painted, and I don't think they would have been, really super superbly painted. They would have been quick and easy just to get that on the aircraft. So now that we have our mask more or less drawn out, I'm going to come back with our scissors here and we're going to cut that section of the mask. Now this is not easy to do. It requires a lot of kind of slow, meticulous, very tedious cutting. I thought about maybe using an X-Acto blade instead and just kind of tracing the line with the knife. That did not work very well. The scissors tend to be the best way I found to go ahead and do this. Keep a steady pressure with the scissors and just rotate the scissors and the frisket film to go ahead and help kind of get those scalloped edges cut out. This is not easy in the slightest. Almost here, just one more quick end right here to finish it off. There we go. Now I have my mask for the outside of the tentacle. And you can hopefully see it's scalloped almost like waves. So let me show you right like that. See how it's kind of scalloped? So that's what we're going for. That's at least what we're trying to go for. Now I can go ahead and separate the backing from the frisket film. Peeling this back, I will have my mask pretty much ready to go. So there you go. Now we can just cut off the backing and we can stick this down to the aircraft itself. And then we'll be able to airbrush. I mean, talk about tedious, right? This has to be done for every single tentacle, not really for the faint of heart. But of course, we also have to protect the light green color that we did last time. So to do that, I've cut a very thin strip of Tamiya tape, and I'm just basically masking off the very edge of this tentacle. Also very tedious. So bit by bit, just millimeter by millimeter, adjusting the tape, sticking it down, moving to the next one, adjusting the tape, sticking it down, trying to get that nice contoured shape so that we won't get dark green all over our light green, because that is not something I want to do. But of course, we don't want to get overspray all over the place either, so I'm going to have to come back and make some masks for the rest of the model. I've got some blue tape here, and I've cut it into generally the shape of the contour here on the tentacle, and we're just going to stick that down, and I'm hoping that this is going to line up more or less right on the money. It probably won't, but we can make some adjustments here and there. Very important to do here, very important. So now that we have more or less everything ready to go, we have our overspray taken care of. Let's go ahead and stick this mask down. I want to make sure I have enough of the actual plastic showing so that when I come back to airbrush this, we'll have everything nicely set up. All right, let's get it done. All right, everybody, man, that was a long time. Not long for you guys, but very long for me. We have everything done. We've done all our touch-ups on the green. We've done all the touch-ups on the scalloped dark green colors. Whew, it's done. We are finished with the tentacles. That was a lot of work. So we get a little closer look here. You can see they're not perfect. I mean, trust me, I tried my best to get these looking as natural as possible. It's just not going to happen. But I think I have a good enough approximation of each of these scallops that it's going to be passable for sure. And again, if it looks good at arm length, then I'm happy with it, right? So you can see the top of it as well. We have most of these scallops. This is as good as it's going to get for me. I'm happy. I'm calling this one done. So let's move on to the next section. Now, of course, we have to go ahead and get the future going on this because we need to get those decals stuck down next episode. So let's go ahead and pull out our future, grab our airbrush, and get this thing nicely gloss coated. One of my favorite steps in all model building. All right, everybody, we are finished for today. Here it is, all futured. Gloss coat's looking awesome. We're going to let this dry for about 48 to 72 hours. I have to tell you, though, all those tentacles were a nightmare to go ahead and airbrush all the scallops on there. I had to repeatedly try a bunch of different techniques until I finally figured out which one would work well. And then, of course, I showed you guys what I did with the frisket paper and the masks and the dark green. It was crazy. But everything is nicely painted, everything is touched up, everything is gloss coated. We are done for today. So thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. We will see you back here next week for episode number 13, where we'll go ahead and get some decals on this beautiful bird. Until then, you know the drill. Go out and get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool, and we'll see you back here next week on episode 13 for the PV-1 Ventura. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.